orange soda today. Learned Orange Crush is caffeine free. Didn't know that. Pouring it out. I've never seen the PlayStation stream be ahead of the laptop one. Wait, what? That's fucked up. What has Sony done? What magical technology have they made manifest? Anyway, hello Yomi, hello Bonnie, hello anyone else who may be lurking about. Who's ready for a little bit of Umineko, because these streams are probably never very long unless they're on a weekend day for me, like a Monday or a Tuesday. So you're always saying, why didn't you stream on Monday or Tuesday? I have good reason. I was going to stream Monday, but it was my father's birthday lunch day. Right? Why not Tuesday? Well, I was finishing Stone Machia, which you should play, by the way. Listen, I finished Stone Machia yesterday, several hours went by, and I just sat there thinking I really would like to start my New Game Plus no healing run, so I did. Started my New Game Plus no healing run. Might become a Stone Machia speedrunner. Might become a Stone Machia speedrunner, the only one. Also, hello Yuna, Peaks head out high playing Uta right now. Hey, sweet. You know what, guys? Let's end the Umineko and start Monochrome Mobius. Anyway, let's not do that. I have the Ultimate World First race on my other monitor, so if somebody somehow makes some meaningful prog, which they won't because we just got to limit cut, then I might like stop for a second to look at that, but that's not really going to happen. But Nanjo is there. We've been wondering where Nanjo is in episode 2. I have the answer. He's racing. He's fighting Kefka. He's on screen on the fucking thing right now. Also, hello Vice. Seems like hanging out here during work seems like a chill thing to do. Enjoying a Coke Zero myself. Very nice, Vice. Vice, I've cut caffeine from my diet, so I can't have a Coke Zero because that's zero sugar but not zero caffeine. But yeah. But yeah. I've also been made aware that I don't know what I was about to say. I was about to say some non-factual shit. Anyway. Hey Vice, actually. While you're working and probably not doing much, what games have you been playing other than Deadlock and Deadlock? Vice, I need a means to play a game with you. I was talking to Bean the other day. He would like to as well. But I was talking to Bean, and I'm like, more than anything else, I miss Lem. My friend Lem. Vice is alright, but I talk to him sometimes still. But I need a way, I need a vessel in the form of a video game that allows me to sit down and play a game with you. So, you pick, buddy. I was thinking about Lem too. Let's just fucking ping Lem and say, hello Lem. Let's play, and then a game he would never play in his life. And see if he does it. Let's not do that to him. He's probably like selling a mattress. I'm just saying hi to everybody. This Ultimate's been interesting. It's been fun. I'm glad there was a puzzle to watch. I saw them get the fake clear yesterday during the State of Play, which State of Play was pretty snoozy. Hey Tycoon, not want to get spoilers, but hope you have a good stream. Thank you, Tycoon. We're not really starting yet. We're just kind of yapping right now, so if you wanted to yap a little before I hit the start button, by all means, stick around for a little. I'll try not to last too long here, because I know I'm not going to stream a long time, and I know people want to see me actually get to content, but yeah. I do like yapping, don't we all? But, was there anything interesting at the State of Play? Remind me. There was the new game by the funny, charming lady. Forgot her name again, but it's like you hunt Oni. Well, oh, Control 2 we already knew about, Tycoon, so that was cool, but we already knew about that, but I guess we already knew about the thing by the one lady too, kind of, but that was like the first time they like properly showed it, I think. Maybe? But it looks cool. The animations were like very stretchy and bouncy, so I've been stuck playing Final Fantasy XIV lately, doing combat relic grind. I don't know why. It feels like I'm wasting my time, but I can't stop. Dude, sometimes a game just gets you in a good grind, and you're just like, I fuck with this. Like, it happens. Like, it happens. No, not really, but they reminded you there was something Zero. Oh, Phantom Blade Zero? No, I didn't forget about that. That's like one of my most anticipated video games. They just need to tell me when it's coming out. That's the one, Yomi. Nakamura. Nakamura, whatever, Japan. Might be fun to play with some bugs, true. Phantom Blade Zero looks crazy. I think the Until Dawn 2 was something new. Oh yeah, Until Dawn 2 was something new. Can't wait to not play it, but watch other people play it. Yeah. Yeah, they showed Wolverine, and it looks like, it has the, it is the highest jump, the greatest leap we've ever made in body hair technology. I'll give it that. Most games are trying to avoid the GTA 6 date. Yeah, well, now they've fucked themselves up big time. September is fucked. September's so fucked. I don't think Wolverine looked bad. I think it looked mediocre. The executions looked fun. Right? But I don't know. Listen, that gameplay showcase for Wolverine started off on a bad foot when they showed me Wolverine stealthing for some reason. That fucking section should have started with Wolverine walking up to some guy and some guy being like, hey, what's with the suit? And then Wolverine fucking stabs him through the eyeballs and just immediately starts ripping everybody apart. I think the game will be alright. A good mid-game. Yeah. It's like, it's a game I will play and think that was fun, and then move on. I do have potentially exciting news. I have a concept for a D&D campaign in my head and a growing urge to DM. Been bringing a journal with me to work to doodle down plot threads. Vice, don't fuck with me, man. Vice, you know how fucking much I want to play D&D with the boys again? You know how much I want to do that, but I don't want to DM because I don't want to commit all that effort. Even though I desperately want to play D&D with the boys. Vice, test the waters. Try running like a little thing that's like 1 or 2 sessions. See how you vibe with it. Kind of like how Revan first kind of like eased us in with a small thing. Right? Come on, Vice. Come on. I don't guarantee I'll be as good a DM as you or Revan, but I feel you. Don't put me on the same level as Revan. Don't even like put me in the same sentence as Revan. Revan's a fucking legend. I will never be on his level of grandeur. It's an insult to him to put me in the same breath. Unless we're talking about men with large penises, in which case, by all means, same sentence. Combat will probably be surprisingly fun for Wolverine. I mean, yeah, it's gonna feel good to tear people apart. My Wolverine vision is telling me there are enemies behind this wall. My Wolverine vision. Oh, they showed on the new God of War. Who was as excited about that? My opinion that you asked for is that the writing does not look like it's improved from Ragnarok. The Ragnarok writing is still there, big time, so the dialogue is all going to be very Marvel-esque, which is a huge shame. But the combat looks, yeah, I think we're all agreeing. The combat looks so way better. We were all watching, like, snoozing, and I saw her jump, and I'm like, whoa, 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 was that a jump button? We all cheered. She did some air juggles and shit. I'm like, okay, okay. The game will be fun. The cube is, I do not know why they put a cube named Frank there. That pisses me off. But the fact that you can bounce motherfuckers off the cube, I do like that. I do like that a lot. The Norse games fucking suck to play. Dude, I felt like I was crazy, Yomi. I was I outside of like boss fights, Ragnarok feels like dog shit to play because of just the encounter design. I don't think the gameplay on its own is bad. I think the encounter design is terrible for the gameplay. In Ragnarok, yeah, I don't remember it being an issue in 2016. But it's just overall enemy variety was poor in that one. But then boss fights, while they were more fun in Ragnarok than the normal encounters, they lost all the spectacle they had that I wanted outside of the first Thor fight. The first Thor fight was sick, and then every fight after that was just whatever. It was fun. Like, I guess it was kind of fun to play. Like, they weren't unfun to play, but yeah. Oh, it's I could for sure because they have the sword right there. But all in all, I'm gonna play it. It can't be worse than Ragnarok in terms of its writing. Ragnarok was pretty abysmal, in my opinion. Outside of a couple charming things I liked a couple things, but overall writing in Ragnarok was, in my opinion, not good. I was in major cope when I played the game, but the gameplay looks way better and the soundtrack will be good because the God of War games, the Norse God of War games do have good soundtracks. Not like the greatest of all time or anything, but they are good. They are strong motifage, which you know how I feel about that. Every time one of Kratos' pubes is on screen, it goes da da da. So you know, yeah. He was one of the actors of The Boys. I know it is. I like that guy actually. He's funny. He was on a Red Letter, one or two Red Letter Media episodes, I think. What's his name? Something Quaid. He's like a cool guy. He can't know better. He doesn't know. He's just said, someone said, "Do you want to be the funny cube in our game?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll be a funny cube." How could he know? Didn't do very well in the trivia episode they did with him. What the fuck is going on? Is my light bulb about to explode or something? What's happening? Fuck. Why did my room just get like... Am I crazy? I feel like my light bulb just became like yellow. Yellower, I'm sorry. That my room just turned like a shade of yellow suddenly. That it wasn't before. Well, who knows? Maybe it'll explode during a dramatic moment. It's becoming golden! Anyway. Moral of the story, Vice. You know that if you said, "Hey guys, would you guys want to be in a D&D thing?" You know literally everyone's gonna say yeah, so if you decide you want to fuck with it, do it, man. It'd be incredible. That's the thing I'm thinking about. We're talking about games, I'm just thinking about how Vice mentioned D&D. Alright. Enough yappage. We've been going for 20 minutes. At the end of the day, what we can all agree on is that you should all try Stone Machia. Yuna asked if I played Mina earlier. I forgot to respond, so sorry, Yuna, if you're still here. Sorry I didn't respond to that. I have not started Mina. I have not started Mina yet. I intend to start Mina tonight, but I might just do more of my New Game Plus no-heal run of Stone Machia, because I just got to one of my favorite areas. I miss Vern so much. I've thought about his last words constantly. I miss Vern too! I miss everyone, man! For months after we like put on hiatus, I was thinking like, okay, What conversations do I want to have with every character when we return? One day, man. One day for real. It'll come back. Can we... So, Vice, we gotta do a big old campaign with you that is just the... That just turns out to all lead up into the conception of Vern. Into Avernicus being birthed. So it'll be like the birth of Christ. That'd be so tight. Okay, we gotta play Umineko. Alright, Tycoon, if you're hanging around still, get the fuck out, because there are going to be potentially, like, instantaneous spoilers when I continue from my save. Like, I might go through 2 messages and then immediately have a spoiler appear on screen. So get out of here. But thanks for stopping in, dude. Greatly appreciated. But I get it though, Vice. It's good to prepare. Trust me, if there's one thing I've learned many times, it's that don't say you're gonna do the D&D thing until you feel like you are ready to start it. And that the only thing you truly need is the character, or the player characters. Like, it's so easy to say, I want to do this, I want to do this, and then you get like everything ready, and then it's like, okay, we're starting in 2 weeks. So, but that's why I also strongly recommend starting with like a small thing, like not necessarily a one shot, if you don't know if you're gonna be able to pace it in a one shot, but like a 2 or 3 session thing, just to kind of like get a vibe for DMing and see how you feel and stuff. So. Anywho. Welcome back to Rokenjima, all. Recap for anybody who missed it last time. Recap time. Everything is happening slightly differently now, and it's getting more and more different as time goes on. Rosa has now interacted with Beatrice and was given a one of 2 letters. The other was given to Maria. Maria has candy this time. Rosa's freaking out. Kyrie also interacted with Beatrice briefly, and is like, wow, important person on an important day. Genji is leading Beatrice to Kinzo's room as we speak. That is what is happening. So yeah, get to it. The hallway in front of Kinzo's study was filled with the scent of sweet poison, peculiar to that green liquor. Genji, who was completely used to it, did not grimace. And the Golden Witch didn't grimace either.
この中からどれほど出ぬのか。
すでに数年になるかと思います。
それほどまでにわらわをカゴの鳥としたいか。哀れな。
There was 2 lines in, yep.
それを願うそなたが今やカゴの鳥、書斎の亡霊ではないか。それに気づけぬとは哀れな男よ。
あなた様と再びお会いする日までは、おそらく文字通り亡霊となっても研究を続けられるでしょう。
愛か狂気か猛襲か。それも講じれば魔力となるか。悲しき魔術師よ。
Which, sorry, I just drank soda pop, so I don't know smoke. The witch grasped the doorknob to the study. When she did, there was a sound like that of flesh burning and splitting open. It was the sound of the doorknob literally burning the witch's hand. Thank you for the clarification.
なんだこれは。魔除けか。あやつめ。こんなものに頼らなければ、おのがみも保てぬというのか。
Shocked Beatrice's face.
その扉は、ベアトリーチェ様にはおつらいものと伺っております。私が お分けいたしましょうか。
いや、よい。あやつが勝てば、わらわは永遠のカゴの鳥。あやつが負ければ、愛に狂い、すべてを失った哀れな魔術師の生涯が、笑い草ともはや金蔵もわらわさえも、ゲーム盤に並べられた駒に過ぎぬ。
Wow.
あとは、ルーレットの目が勝敗を分けるだけよ。ルーレットが目を見せるまで、わらわと金蔵が再会する必要はない。
What? Well, I wanted to see. The witch looked at her hand, which was beginning to heal bit by bit, even though it had been horribly burned.
あるいは、そのための魔除けなのか。なるほど。それもまた潔し。すべては今や、金蔵のゲーム盤の上よ。気に入ったぞ、金蔵。そなたとのゲーム。わらわに恋焦がれ、すべての生涯を投げ出したローマ術師の最後のギャンブル。その散りざまを、楽しませてもらうぞ。
You have a habit of taking very long pauses that makes me click the next text box. Beatrice.
誰か。失礼いたします。昼食をお持ちいたしました。
Lunch.
入れ。失礼いたします。
Beatrice is hungry. After receiving approval, Annan entered the VIP room, pushing the serving cart that carried lunch. Servants called this room the Witch's VIP room. That was because Kinzo strictly ordered that it always be kept clean, so that it could be used at any time. Even so, guests would not be allowed into this room no matter who they were. That's why, at some point, the servants had started calling it the VIP room, which was supposed to be set aside only to welcome the special person Kinzo waited for, the witch from that portrait. And today, Canon realized that this was absolutely true. When he entered the room, the blonde-haired witch was gazing out the window. Outside the rain was no longer falling weakly. As she looked out at the beautiful rose garden, which had been tended to over several days for today's sake, she saw the winds and rain ravage it. Was she struck by some sentimental feelings? Canon was not able to tell anything more from her back. Faced him.
お食事の用意をさせていただきます、ベアトリーチェ様。
Canon went out of his way to call out the witch's name, hoping that she'd turn around. He wanted to know if the witch who'd tempted him and Shannon in the past had really appeared again. When he did, the witch whose name had been called laughed, her back still facing him. Holding back her voice, she laughed. Canon was startled. It was almost as though she had read his mind and knew that he had called out to her, hoping to make her turn around.
良い匂いだな。どうやらクラウスは良い料理人を入れたと見える。
Yeah, Goda's pretty sick with it.
はい。近年入ったゴーダという料理人です。料理の腕が良きことは、美食は人の世で生きる快楽の山中をなす。千年を飽きぬにはこれを欠かさぬが秘訣よ。
Canon and the witch's eyes met. Then she grinned. Without a doubt, certainly, this was clearly the witch from that day. Beatrice. The witch that no one but he and Shannon could see in the past finally held a form and had arrived openly as a guest through the entrance hall.
ベアトリーチェ様。久しぶりよの。家具のカノン。お久しぶりでございます。
Canon tried to remember to be polite to this guest for the time being, The visit of the suspicious witch made dark clouds start to enshroud his heart, especially considering that today was the family conference.
何をしに現れたのかと気が気でならぬと見える。そうであろう。
Cannon didn't force an answer. This witch probably reads minds. It's pointless to go to the trouble of saying it out loud. Of course, she could read even his inner resistance. So the witch giggled at Cannon's childish defiance.
金蔵との最後の約束を果たしに来た。
親方様との最後の約束。
わらわは金蔵に山をなす黄金を貸し付けた。それを金蔵が放棄するとき、わらわは利子をつけて返却を受けることになっておる。今宵それをもらい受けに来た。
僕には何の話か分かりません。
However, uncertainty began to gather in his heart. Whatever this witch had to say, it couldn't be anything good.
違いない。魔女の話にろくなものはないぞ。そなたは正しい。されど魔女とハサミは使いようだ。
Yeah, just like scissors.
ソロモン王のように偉業を成し遂げる者も時にはおる。最も多くの場合は童話が語るようにろくな目には合わんがな。しかし金蔵も食えぬ。わらわの利子の取り立てすらも自らの儀式に取り込みおった。わらわをも超えるとてつもない大魔術師か。さもなければ狂気に取りつかれたただの知れ者か。面白い。実に面白い。
Cannon couldn't guess what the witch was muttering and laughing about. All he knew was that anything that made this witch laugh must have the exact opposite meaning for everyone else. In the back of his mind, the horrifying words the witch had spat at him in the past began to resurface. What, did you think I'd lend you my power and ask for nothing in exchange? I'll gladly assist a pair in love, and in exchange I'll enjoy watching the cruel fate they'll eventually meet. I have never come across a better show, not over the course of 1,000 years. This face is so funny. This is like one of the funniest portraits in the game, in my opinion. It's impossible to take seriously.
まさかお前は。
懐かしき故郷を貫く鮎の川、黄金鏡を目指す者よ、これを下りて鍵を探せ。
The witch suddenly began to recite a bizarre poem. Hey, Balmrin! It was something he remembered hearing.
それはまさか魔女の碑文。
There was no mistake. It was the epitaph that accompanied the portrait of the witch Kinzo had put on display. The relatives had guessed that it referred to the location of the hidden gold, but no one knew what it meant for sure. The witch suddenly began reciting that epitaph.
カノン、
No.
家具である貴様なら金蔵から聞いていよう。すべてを黄金鏡へ返す日がやってきたのだ。喜ぶがいい。お前の恥辱にまみれた家具の日々がようやく終わる時がやってきたのだ。
Gold?
お前はそれをずっと望んできたはず。自らに存在価値を持たぬ家具にとって、ただ存在するだけの日々は苦痛に他ならない。魂ある者にとって、うつしおは固執すべきものだが、亡き者にとってうつしおは苦害でしかないからのう。
Complicated expressions flitted across Cannon's face. This was the day of release that Cannon had been looking forward to. However, the coming of this day had been mercilessly sudden, and for some reason, he didn't like the hateful tone used by this witch as she informed him of the coming of his long-awaited day of rest. Cannon couldn't even decide what emotion he should be feeling.
なぜに喜ばぬ？それとも、うつしおに何かの未練があるというのか？家具の分際で。
未練などない。僕は家具だから。
貴様は実に模範的な家具だな。よいよい。
I feel like he's not, though. I feel like Genji is the model specimen. Genji is some good furniture.
しかし、何の未練もないとはつくづく面白みのない。
未練こそがお前の快楽だというのか。
その通り。1000年も生きると大抵の魔女は生き飽きる。わらわは退屈から逃れるために人間たちの運命にブランデーや果実を練り込み、ケーキのように焼き上げるのだ。オーブンの中で苛烈な運命に踊る人間たちのなんと面白きこと。わらわはこの方面にかけてはちと知られていてな。
You may have heard of me.
わらわの料理の腕を見に、時には遠方から珍客が見物に来ることすらあるくらいよ。言っても家具ごときには理解できぬか。
Cannon couldn't understand what the witch was saying. However, he fully realized that this was a terrifying being who treated the fate of humans as a show, enjoying it wherever some harm befell them, whenever. However, furniture has no soul or life, much less a fate. Pitiful furniture does nothing but serve until the day they're released from the real world. Furniture like that, the witch who had come to release them from everything, was a being to be received with overflowing affection. Even though the day Cannon should have been waiting impatiently for had come, he was confused by his own inability to accept it easily. I would use Goda as a fireplace. Why was it? The face of Shannon, the person he loved as a sister, rose to his mind. For some reason, Jessica's face did too. Shannon bit his lower lip hard enough that it hurt. Thinking about Jessica like that was something furniture must never do. Even though he thought he'd known that, even though he'd complained about Shannon's relationship, why was it that Jessica rose into his mind at a time like this? He felt a little shameful at his own naivety. And to forget about Jessica, he turned his thoughts to Shannon. Shannon is also furniture. He has no reason not to rejoice at the coming of the day when all will return to nothingness. But Shannon, through her relationship with George, has experienced an emotion forbidden to furniture. Even though she isn't qualified to be bonded with him, she's still trapped in a dream that she isn't allowed to have. Will Shannon be able to joyfully accept this development? No, she won't. Shannon still has lingering regrets. Those will probably become a great source of pain and torture for her. And those lingering regrets were planted by none other than this bitch. Why? Because that would be more interesting and nothing more.
シャノンは待ちわびていたはずの日に知ってはならない感情を持ち とても辛い思いを強いられるだろう。僕たち家具を解放する日を手土産に訪れ、そしてシャノンにその日を受け入れがたくしたお前を憎む。
お前もシャノン同様に未練に苦しませてやりたかったぞ。しかしお前は愚直に家具であり続け、わらわに籠絡されることもなかった。しかしシャノンを慕いすぎたようだな。
Hold on. Boom, boom, boom.
シャノンの未練がそなたの未練となる。それはわらわへの憎悪へと変わるのか？わらわを殺したくば殺してみるがよい。金蔵の家具ならばその程度の力は持っていよう。しかしわらわを殺せば家具どもに安息の日は永遠に訪れぬぞ。そなたにそれが耐えられるのか？わらわによる解放を本当に拒むことができるのか？ひざまずけ。
何を。
ひざまずき、わらわの靴に口づけをするがよい。さもなくばわらわはこの場を立ち去ろうぞ。帰りて永遠に姿を現さぬ。のうカノン、そなたはそれに耐えられるのか？黄金鏡の扉が開かれればそなたの苦難に満ちた家具の生は終わろう。望むならば人間としての生を与えてもよい。さすればもはやジェシカとは対等。貴様も知りたいはずだ、恋の味が。隠そうとも知っておるぞ。甘き恋の沼にて溺れるシャノンを見てそなたは羨ましがっている。恋の味を知りたくてうずうずしておるのよ。
やめろ、やめろ。僕を再び籠絡するつもりか。僕はお前を楽しませるためのおもちゃになり果てたりしない。
ほう、ならばシャノンで満足するとしよう。まいた種はそなただけではないのでな。時には実を結ばぬ果実もある。鍵を手にせし者は以下に従いて黄金鏡へ旅立つべし。第一の番に鍵の選びし6人を生贄に捧げよ。第二の番に残されし者は寄り添う2人を引き裂け。
The witch recited the epitaph again. It was so sudden and diverged so strongly from the current topic. However, that challenging smile made it seem almost as though she was using that epitaph as a threat against canon.
わからぬか？この碑文の儀式を成し遂げるには第二の番に寄り添う2人を生贄に捧げねばならぬ。寄り添う2人は誰でもよい。夫婦でもよいし恋人同士でもよい。誰を選ぶかは儀式のルールにのっとりわらわが気まぐれに決めてよいことになっている。今のシャノンならこれほどふさわしい第二の番の生贄もないとは思わぬか？
卑劣な。
Canon realized something. Until today, he thought he'd given up everything else and lived as furniture, acting like furniture. But in reality, that wasn't true. He loved Shannon too dearly. Therefore, Shannon was in pain. Shannon shared in that. If only Shannon had continued to live as furniture, indifferently like Cannon, without any regrets in this world, he wouldn't have had to be in so much pain. The witch planned to toy with Shannon, who had known the taste of love. No, whom she had taught the taste of love, as she killed her. She wouldn't be welcomed into the Golden Land and granted a compassionate release. Instead, if the witch had her way, she'd be used as a sacrifice, subjected to the utmost of torture and pain, and forcibly turned into a human foundation for this evil ceremony. And this witch would probably make Shannon meet this horrible fate, for no reason other than that it was amusing to her. Hello, Salty. This is not Onimusha, no. Cannon's not that smart, is he? No. No, he is not. Well, his issue is that he's extremely stubborn to the point of easily convincing himself of things. He's also a moron. I mean, I'm just gonna say it. I've never been brainwashed in my life. I don't really know what it's like to be brainwashed. I just don't know how you convince yourself you're a furniture. I don't really know how he got to this point where he's like, I'm furniture, I'm not a human being. We'll get that in like episode 3. I guess formative years and all that, right? Really, Yomi? I've heard people were saying it was pretty fun. But I also, when I look at gameplay of Onimusha, I'm like, this looks so slow. Why are they moving in slow motion? But I don't know. Furthermore, she was threatening to do this so that she could make Cannon, who had never submitted to the witch, finally give in. It was that simple. In the end, though he had tried to resist the witch and avoid pleasing her, he had only made things more amusing for her. After all, he was furniture. No, toy. They were nothing but toys only meant to distract her from her boredom. Damn. Can't really do that in English. Damn. Oh, that's not good, Yomi. Yomi, I've never seen Onimusha, the original games, until the state of play yesterday when they were like showing like the remastered version of an old one or something. Not even a remaster, it's a re-release of like the second one or some shit. And that one looked like way more fun than the new one.
ひざまずけばシャノンを生贄に選ぶことを控えんこともないぞ。お前のような玩具を一度屈服させてみたかった。But my good friend Bean really liked it. Without even a fragment of elegance, the witch sneered at Cannon and laughed indecently. That's right. She'd predicted Cannon's submission even before he'd made that decision himself. Cannon chose to get down on both knees in front of the witch. It didn't matter what happened to himself. However, the one thing he couldn't bear to see was Shannon, who'd given him his only reason to live during his days as furniture, being toyed with like this. That was why kissing the shoes of the witch was an easy oath for Cannon to make. When his quivering lips actually touched the witch's shoe, Beatrice let a look of ecstasy rise to her face, then laughed with a voice filled to bursting. At that moment, the witch who had grown bored of life after 1,000 years was completely filled with the evil emotion that she lived for.
Ah, she's a good lady. She had that cute scene on the beach with Shannon where they had snacks, so she's actually a good person. You just gotta trust. When lunch ended, the relatives moved to the parlor. Rosa had brought a high-class brand of black tea from a famous store in Ginza that had been served, and the parlor was filled with a pleasant aroma. No more tea. There's that one scene. Since the children were here too, the adults trying to interact like normal relatives on the surface, talking peacefully about recent events and how their children were growing up. It had started raining, so the children couldn't do anything but sit here like this, watching TV, unable to go outside. Maria was apparently a TV kid. She kept watching a boring daytime program without getting bored, giggling all by herself. At first, Battler joined in, seeming to deepen his relationship with Maria, but he had gotten up early that morning and was gradually hit by a wave of drowsiness.
おや、大きなあくびだね。朝がずいぶん早かったんじゃないのかい？
ま、そんなとこだよ。緊張が解けて、雨の音を聞いてるうちに眠くなってきちまった。
緊張あんだけ態度でかそうにしてて緊張なんてしてたのかよ。
一応俺なりにはな。
Battler gave another great yawn and slowly lay down on the sofa. He really did look tired. George and the others had tried talking to him, thinking it was a sign of boredom. When they realized he really was sleepy, they decided to let him be.
おやおや、食事の後にすぐ横になるとサバになると申しますよ。
冗談よせやい。合田さん、今夜は子牛のステーキだって言ってたぜ。サバのステーキになっちまう。
熊沢さん。
We already do this joke? I don't even remember. She's the mackerel lady, that's right.
こいつ本当に眠いらしい。毛布を持ってきてあげてくれないかな。
さあ、どうぞ。
Kumasawa brought a blanket over from the shelf. The large parlor wasn't cold, but the air had gotten a little chilly. So when Battler took the blanket, he immediately wrapped himself up in it like a turtle.
本当に眠かったんだね。何時かに起きる？起こしてあげるよ。
いや、特に希望は。なんか用があったら起こしてくれりゃいいし、なんにもねえんならずっと眠らせてくれりゃいいぜ。おやすみ。
バトラン寝ちゃうの？お昼寝マリアもする。
こらマリア、バトラは眠いんだから放っておいてあげなきゃ。熊沢さん、もう一枚毛布をもらえるかな。
It was doubtful whether Maria really wanted to take a nap. She probably saw Battler wrapped up in a blanket and wanted to do the same. When she received the blanket from Kumasawa, she joyfully wrapped herself up in it and set up camp in front of the TV.
ちぇ、せっかく6年ぶりにいた子がみんな揃ったってのによ。こいつ、今回の親族会議の主賓だって自覚全然ねえな。
聞こえてるぞ。のんびり昼飯を食って、しかも外は台風で雨。何もすることがねえってことは、つまり俺の出番じゃねえってことさ。
Yeah?
それはどうかな。何も起こらないから何もしないなんて受け身の姿勢じゃ人生は退屈だよ。
違うぜ。そういう、なんつうのかな。こういう時、俺はこう思うことにしてる。出番じゃねえんだよ。こいつがお芝居だったならさ、俺の出番じゃねえってことなんだよ。だったら、舞台袖でおとなしくしてるに限るってわけさ。
自分の人生はいつだって自分が主人公だろ。そんな脇役根性でどうすんだよ。自分から進んで舞台に上がらなきゃ
そういう意味じゃねえ。今は俺の出番じゃねえって言いたいのさ。悪いな。眠くて思考がめちゃくちゃだ。勘弁してくれ。
確かに眠くてなんだか支離滅裂なことを言ってるね。もうそっとしてあげようよ。
私は聞き捨てならねえぜ。自分の人生はいつだって自分が主人公だよ。ちょっとそのあたり本格的にバトラと議論したいけどな。
Bro, he's sleepy. Leave him alone.
寝ぼけてるだけだよ。
Your fucking dude's tired. I won't accept this.
深く考えちゃダメさ。
なんかさ、
It's just that he subconsciously knows that he's on the second loop.
自分は主役になれないから舞台に上がりたくないみたいな根性。なぜだかすっげえうぜえって思って。
With distant eyes, Jessica gazed out the window at the gray rose garden obscured by rain. And she put her forehead up against the glass. The pleasantly cool sensations seemed to chase away memories she was trying to forget.
まだ君の出番じゃなかったってことなのかい。じゃあいつ君は舞台に上がるんだよ。
In that case, who the heck is the main character on this stage? It's Beatrice. Whoa.
もうやりたい放題じゃねえかよ。
Okay. Okay, okay.
なんだこりゃよ。めちゃくちゃじゃねえか。
Yeah, 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 yeah.
そなたがわらわを否定する根拠とする18人だの19人だのという理論が実に滑稽だったのでな。
Okay, so that's why she's... Okay.
指し手を変えてみたまでよ。そなたがわらわを否定する最大の根拠は単にわらわが駒としてゲーム盤に並ばなかったからというだけのこと。ならばこうしてクイーンを先に指せばいいだけの話ではないか。初手にてクイーンに道を開けるはチェスの王道ではないか。
I don't know. I just played a whole chess-based game, though.
ふざけやがって。こんなの認められるわけねえじゃねえかよ。魔女が歩いて玄関からやってきただと。ふざけるじゃね
なんだなんだ。前回のゲームではそなたに散々自由に手を進めさせたぞ。こたびはわらわがそなたの手に合わせて駒を動かしたに過ぎん。初手にてもう降参か。
くそったれ。
Come on, Battler.
ふざけるな。誰が降参なんかするかってんだ。上等な指し手だぜ。好きに進めればいいじゃねえか。なるほどな。まだまだお前の手番は終わってないってわけだ。好きに手を進めりゃいい。今のうちに十分な陣形を築いとけ。俺が必ずしのぐ。必ず詰める。言い訳なんてされたくねえ。存分に来やがるってんだ。まだまだこの程度じゃ魔女なんて認められるわけがねえぜ。そうさ。さっきマリアのお菓子を魔法で直したように見えたが。
How'd she do it, Battler?
実は同じお菓子をもう一つ懐に忍ばせていて、芝居がかった方法ですり替えて。
It's a classic trick of sleight of
魔
hand.
法で直したみたいに見せただ
It's,
けかも
it's
しれない。
classic sleight of hand.
ああ、そうさ、そうに決まってる。ダメだぜ。全然ダメだぜ。
This is my goat, bro. No one does it like him for real.
ほほう。
Ho ho.
ローザは歌詞が腸に散る瞬間を見たぞ。
Rosa thinks she saw that.
知らねえよ。
Oh, Battler, bad
そん
response.
なのは幻覚か手品か。さもなきゃ見間違いだろ。大した問題じゃね
説明のつかぬ部分はさまつと切り捨てたか。なるほど。それがそなたの
No,
受け手である
Battler,
な。
please.
墓穴を掘ったぞ。後ろ宮バトラー。
Batara.
お前の手番はまだ先だぞ。
Isn't how chess works. You don't just get to move a bunch of pieces around and say it's not your turn yet.
もうしばらくわらわの手番を進めさせてもら
Yo,
う。
if this was like a professional game of chess, you would have like timed out by now and Battler would have won by default.
まだまだこれからだぞ。魔女の手番
The
は。
turn of the witch, chat! The turn of the witch! The turn...
That's Dunban over there!
God, every time Battler sleeps, does he get to talk to Shit! We need to make him sleepy so we can get more good scenes. Not Battler's fault he waited so long to say something and then decided to go, oh, I'm sure everyone just saw it wrong, actually. One person. We can't trust one person. Especially not Rosa. He's fucked in the head. They started hearing Battler snore as the relatives went their separate ways, leaving the parlor and letting Battler sleep in silence. Even though it had been so lively in the parlor with so many people gathered there, and all of them scattered at once and were swallowed up by the vast mansion, created an eerie silence, with no sound except that of the rain.
Yeah? そんな人間には一度も会ったことはないぜ、姉貴は。
会ったことなんてないわ。キリエさん、本当なの？
私もちょっと玄関ホールに出た時に挨拶をしただけです。20歳ちょっとくらいに見えたわ。私は名乗ったんだけど、彼女は名乗らなかった。源氏さんに案内されて2階へ登っていくのを見たの。
なら源氏さんを見つけて直接話を聞いた方が早いやろ。しかし妙な雲行きになってきよったな。
Of the witch. The mystery woman had spoken to Kyrie. Without naming herself, she'd sneered that Kyrie should have had a vague idea as to her identity. That brought someone to mind. And then there was her look-alike, the witch in the portrait.
そいつは自分が肖像画の魔女様だとそう言いたいってのかよ。
私はそういう意味で笑ったんだろうと理解したわ。私とは初対面でも、私があなたの5歳だと知っているような口ぶりだった。
姉貴、本当にそんな奴は知らないんだな。
くどいわよ。そんな金髪女。この屋敷に出入りしたところなんて見たこともない。
そんなようなことはどうでもええで。問題はその女が自分はベアトリーチェだと名乗り、お父さんの財産管理人を名乗った場合の方や。
あるいは愛人の娘を自称して遺産の分配を要求するつもりかしら。
I hate it when Rudolph looks forward. Why, Balrog? He looks good.
いずれにせよ
Looks
と
good.
ってもないジョーカーが紛れ込んだものね。兄さんが呼んだの？それともお父様が？
まずいな。
Looks like a different person, kind of, but
俺たちは兄貴をうまく言いくるめりゃなんとかできるものと
let the man have dimensions.
しかしこれじゃ話が
あなたが私の知らないところでどんな策謀を巡らしてたのか知らないけれど、どうも少しは対策を立てる時間を得られたみたいね。
ああ、 その金髪姉ちゃんが今からわずかの時間でも対策を協議できる方がマシだ。
何しに現れたか分からへん以上撃てる対策も限られとるで。向こうの狙いは何なんや。
決まってるでしょ。お父様の遺産の正当な後継者だと言い張るためよ。お父様は未だにベアトリーチェの虜なのよ。その娘がいたなら全財産を譲りたいと言い出すはずだわ。妙な遺言状でも突きつけてくるかもしれない。そりゃ裁判沙汰にすれば半分の4分の1は主張できるかもしれないけど。
Something so amusing about her saying we should take Beatrice to court. We should take her to court.
多分決着するまで遺産分割はできなくなるわよ。それは困る。私もルドルフももちろんローザもね。
俺たちはそれぞれの都合で早急にまとまった金がいる。俺たち最大のウィークポイントってわけだ。なら狙いは何だ、キリエ。読めるか。
初耳なんだけれど、私たちには急ぎまとまったお金が必要だという前提があるのね。
キリエさん、男の商売には攻めの時にこそ軍資金がいるようになることもあるんや。それを分かっていな。
なあにルドルフ、キリエさんには話してなかったの？
すまん、隠してたわけじゃないんだ。実はちょいとした。
いいわ、あなたが私に話す必要がないと判断した話なんだから、それをこの場では追求しない。それよりキュームは黄金の魔女様の狙いを探ることなんでしょ。
ああ、俺たちの話を整理した上で敵の撃ってくる手が見えるか。
Rudolph had a certain measure of trust in Kyrie's unique thinking technique, chessboard thinking, stone machia. Of course, it didn't give him any more peace of mind than fortune-telling. Every time Rudolph was polishing up some important strategy, he'd give a great deal of thought to Kyrie's advice. For a while, Kyrie pressed her finger against her forehead, considering.
今日の今日まで彼女が訪れることが伏せられていた以上、彼女は私たちに何らかのサプライズを与える目的があった。それが財産なのか、親族としての認知なのかは分かりかねるわ。でも今日の今日まで訪れることを伏せていたということは、事前に知らせることで対応を打たれたくなかったと言えるかもしれない。ということは、彼女の目的は対応を打たれると不利になるものらしい。わかる？
なるほどな。例えば親父が以前に書かせた遺言状そのものだとか、血縁の認知とそれが揺るぎないもので盤石な証拠だというなら、むしろそれは。
そうね。むしろ疑う立場にある私たちに弁護士でも鑑定士でも連れてこさせて、グーの音も出ないくらいに事実を突きつけるべきなのよ。それができるならね。
つまり奇襲狙いという時点で敵は真正面からの正攻法では勝てんちゅうことを意味するわけやな。道理や絶対勝てる切り札は堂々と切るに限るで、回りくどい切り方はむしろ切り札を曇らせるもんや。
結論から言うと、皆さんがご就寝の遺産問題に直接もしくは間接的に絡む相当のサプライズが突きつけられる。
There's gonna be a surprise, yeah. It's gonna be like a decapitated head.
おそらく向こうはそのインパクトだけでこちらを圧倒できるつもりでいる。しかしその何かは相当のインパクトを伴いながらも絶対ではない。
つまり
そこがこちらのつけ込む余地というわけね。
あんたはほんま頭の切れるお人や。これだけでも分かればだいぶ心強いで。つまり相手のペースに飲み込まれるなっちゅうことやな。
結局のところ非常にシンプルな結論よ。相手が何を切り出そうとも焦らず冷静に対応する。交渉術の初歩の初歩じゃない。これじゃあ相手の思考を読めたとはとても言えないわ。
いいや、相変わらずなかなかのもんだぜ。こちらに攻める余地があると分かれば余裕も変わってくるってもんだ。
わからないのは彼女とクラウス兄さんの関係ね。クラウス兄さんにとってもサプライズなのか、それとも彼女を呼んだのは他でもないクラウス兄さん自身なのか。もし後者だったなら随分と厄介なことになるかもしれないわよ。
I'm trying to think of other like games or stories I know of that do this to the degree that Umineko has so far, which is showing us really long scenes of characters trying to figure things out and coming to conclusions that are entirely inaccurate because we've already been presented with the answer to the things, or we already know what another character is doing or thinking. I'm trying to think of anything else that does it to this degree. Obviously, Umineko does it for a reason that is hyper-specific to Umineko, but it's interesting and very unique.
そうね。謎の女を親族会議の当日にこっそり呼びつける。いやらしいセンスがどことなく兄さんっぽい感じもする。
兄貴、こうしよう。女の正体がはっきりと証明できない限り、俺らはその女のいかなる身分も認めない。
それが最善ね。現に桐江さんに対して名乗ってすらいない正体不明の女の発言で私たちの会議がかき回されちゃたまらないわ。
血縁証明でも示してみせるかもしれんで。お父さんの血が流れてることが例えば母子手帳でも示されたらどうにもならん。
証明物なんかいくらでも偽装を。
Nanjo's on screen on Frosty Mog. Nanjo is doing trios right now. Nanjo died. It's not actually trios. It's just. Is it trios? Was there a trio? There wasn't a trios. It's phase 3. There just happens to be a chaos and an X death. Kefka's not even there. I miss quite a bit of stuff.
仮にそれが本物だったとしても、当人が本人だと証明するには病院沙汰にしなきゃならん。少なくとも今の六軒島でそれを証明することは不可能だ。
その通りね。つまりこういうことよ。今の六軒島では何が示されても真実だと受け入れることはできない。台風が去って叱るべき場所で証明してみせるまで何も信じられないってこと。
そういうので上げ足を取りまくるのは姉貴の得意技だな。任せるぜ。
バカ言ってんじゃないわよ。あんたも協力するのよ。私たちにはお金がいる。それも急ぎまとまった額が。私たちは運命共同体よ。こんなところでひょっこり現れた謎の女に遺産の当てをぶち壊されてたまるもんですか。
Rudolph and Ava always formed a united front as siblings at times like this. Sickened by the idea that their own inheritance might be snatched away by an outsider, Kyrie noticed how indomitable they looked, shook her head slightly, and gave a small sigh as she gazed out the window. Outside, it was still raining heavily, and everything was gray, having lost all vibrance. The sky still looks blue to me. The sea still looks blue to me. The lush garden The lush garden that the sun had shone on earlier now felt like a lie. For some reason, the words Ava said a second ago kept repeating in Kyrie's head. So in other words, it's something like this. No matter what's shown to us on Rokujima, it can't be accepted as truth. There was an odd nuance to those words. At that moment, the island was closed off by the typhoon and isolated. They had access to no public institutions and no hospital. So on this island, no matter what manner of proof related to the outside world was shown, it would always be possible to call it a lie. It would be impossible to prove that something was the truth. Now that they were isolated from the outside, all truths whose proof lay in the outside world would be called lies. So does that mean that right now on this Rokujima, no truth exists at all? Does it mean that everything will now be ruled by lies alone? It almost gives the illusion that we've left the human world of truth and have been shut away inside another world, one of lies. Kyrie remembered that woman's appearance one more time. She remembered both what she had looked like and the witch of the portrait. On this island, she's been cut off from the world of humans and shut away in the world of non-humans. A non-human being has come to visit. Kyrie couldn't think of the smile that had appeared on that woman's face. Anything other than a potent portent of misfortune. Sorry, I misread the word. I get the feeling my chessboard thinking's missed a vital premise. One that'll be necessary to understand that misfortune-bearing smile. Yes, that smile made me feel as though someone inhuman was mocking me. I based my reasoning on the assumption that our opponent is a human like us. However, just like this island is now, she may be a being that isn't human, and human values may not matter to her. If that's true, all of our reasoning is useless. For what reason has the witch been invited here today? Only one thing is certain. Now, in this instant, she's staying somewhere in this vast mansion. Kyrie, you're a little dramatic. It's just a fucking lady. Also, it's just like a little storm. We're not in the non-human world of lies. You need to, like, relax.
Maria.
Just chill, dude. It's just some goofy shit. Hey, someone forgot to change the portrait in the background. That's the old one.
今日のお昼にお外で私たち会った女の人にあれは誰？
おお、何度も言ってる。ベアトリーチェ。
マリアは以前にベアトリーチェと会ったことがあるの？
おお、毎年会ってる。
毎年？この六軒島のお屋敷で？
おお。
じゃわからないでしょ。そうなの？いつから会ってるの？何年前から？
わかんない。
わからない？どうして？去年？一昨年？
もっと前から。
Rosa was astonished. Only the Ushiromiya family mansion existed on this island. There couldn't have been any humans other than themselves here. And yet, Maria said she'd been meeting with a suspicious woman every year during the family conference. If what Maria said was the truth, that strange woman called Beatrice had been at the family conference every year. That's insane. Is Maria saying that eerie woman was at the family conference every year and none of us ever noticed it? Even though Rosa had just met the woman herself a couple of hours ago in the rose garden, she was overcome with a strange emotion that told her not to accept that existence. What in the world did I meet with earlier today in the rose garden as the typhoon grew near and the winds roared?
マリア、あなたは毎年彼女と会ってると言ったわね。会って何をしてるの？
お歌を歌ったり、魔法を習ったり、魔法陣の書き方も習うの。
そう。
れはすごいわね。マリアがよく自由帳に落書きじゃない、魔法陣を書いたりしてるわよね。ベアトリーチェにね、お手本書いてもらうの。ほらほら、見て見て。
Maria joyfully fished around in her handbag. Then she drew out a single notebook, began opening to that page. Most of the pages were covered with drawings that were literally scribbles. All of them were occult-like things. And, while it might sound rude to Maria, who was joyfully flipping through the pages, they were all creepy.
ほらこれ、ベアトリーチェが書いてくれた。
Hey, I know those. Each one of the pages in the group Maria opened to had an eerie magic circle. Furthermore, at a glance, Rosa could see that Maria hadn't drawn them. The strength of the strokes, the thickness of the lines, how clean the shape was. By itself, it wasn't enough to guess the background of the person who had written it. It was enough for Rosa to be sure that it was someone older than Maria. Rosa had to accept it now. There really was a person on this Rokonjima that she herself hadn't known existed until now. And this person had come to the family conference every year to play with Maria.
マリア、その魔女のベアトリーチェはここに住んでいるの？それとも私たちのように島の外に住んでいるの？おお、ベアトリーチェは六軒島の魔女だからこの島に住んでる。じゃあ親族会議のない日にもこの島にいるというのね。おお。ふうじゃわからないでしょ。どうなの？
What in the... I can't believe it! How long has this unknown witch been living on this island? I used to live on this island. I lived on this island, passing the time in the mansion in the Rose Garden. And even so, I never encountered a witch like that. Right?
Mama? Mama? どうしたの? Mama?
I was probably getting a little mixed up with my memories from when I was a young girl. When I was young, I was terrified of the witch, unlike Maria. So for me, the name Beatrice was a synonym for terror. Surely, my fear from those days has been revived by the appearance of a woman going by that name. She can't be a witch. She's obviously a human calling herself Beatrice, right? That's right. That witch entrusted me with an envelope. What in the world could that be? Rosa pulled that western envelope out of her pocket. It was one of the envelopes that bore the Ushiromiya family crest, which Kinzo used for his personal letters, and its red sealing wax had even been sealed by the head's ring, which Kinzo held. It meant this envelope belonged to the Ushiromiya family head. In other words, it was from father. Why was a woman calling herself Beatrice holding it? And why did she give it to me? That's right. I'm sure she said to read this aloud at dinner. What in the world could be written inside? A sense of uncertainty gripped Rosa, as if opening this envelope might let loose incredible misfortune. However, at the same time, a little curiosity sprouted up too, urging her to find out what was written inside before the other siblings could. Using common sense, one might guess that it contained a huge decision somehow related to father's inheritance. Actually, since she'd received it from a woman who called herself Beatrice, there simply had to be some connection. Does it mean this person wants, not just the 4, but a total of 5 people to be included in the inheritance? I need a large sum of money, and I can't wait long. I feel like such a sinful daughter for discussing father's inheritance while he's still alive. This is no time to spout off cheap ideals. And I'd even colluded with Rudolf Nissan and Eva, in order to get some money out of Kraus Nissan. Coming from that position, Can't help but see the appearance of the witch as a sign of approaching misfortune. What could be written here? I'm sure it's something frightening. Shall I read it secretly myself first? Witch requested that it be read at the dinner table, with everyone gathered. But if that's what she wanted, why couldn't she just read it aloud herself at dinner? Why did she go to all the trouble of entrusting it to me? Simply put, is it because she doesn't mind if I read it secretly beforehand? It'd be better to secretly read the contents first. I understand that'd mean breaking my promise. This is no longer the time for cheap ideals. Depending on the contents, I should probably discuss it with Eva Nissan and Rudolf Nissan. They're always really good thinkers when it comes to this kind of thing. When I gulped, put my head to the red sealing wax hand. Something suddenly pulled on my sleeve and let out a small scream.
マリアなの。驚かせないで。何？
おー、ダメ。
In Maria's expression was the same portent of misfortune she'd felt from that witch, and it sent a tingle up her spine.
ベアトリーチェはママに、その手紙は晩餐で読みなさいって言った。魔女の約束は破っちゃダメだよ。
違うわよ。ちょっと封筒を見ただけじゃない。約束は守るわよ。ママもいつもマリアに約束は守りなさいって言ってるもんね。ママももちろん約束は守るわよ。
うん、ママはいい子。
その笑い方可愛くないからやめなさい。
おお。
そういえばマリアも封筒をもらったわよね。中にはなんて書いてあったの？
開けてない。ベアトリーチェは開ける時が来るまで開けちゃダメって言った。だから大事に持ってる。うん。
そう。マリアはベアトリーチェの言うことはちゃんと聞くのね。
うん。マリアはベアトリーチェの弟子だから、お師匠の言うことはちゃんと聞くの。
そう。
Rosa realized something. Mixed in with Maria's gaze was the glint of someone that wasn't her. If Rosa broke the rules and opened the envelope here, Beatrice would definitely learn of it. As Maria was the witch's disciple, Maria was in contact with that witch.
ママは約束を守るわ。
うん、伝える。
ねえマリア、ベアトリーチェとお話をしたいんだけど、どうすれば会えるのかしら？
知らない。ベアトリーチェはとても気まぐれだから、いつも突然姿を現すの。マリアからは会う方法を知らない。でもね、いつもマリアのことを見てるの。だからマリアが困っていると、後できっと助けてくれるの。きっとね、姿を消してマリアの近くに隠れてるんだよ。
その笑いをやめなさいといつも言ってるでしょ。
Ah. Classic. Rosa reflexively hit Maria on the head. That put a stop to Maria's laughing, but wasn't able to erase the color that had risen to those eyes, a color that seemed to bear a portent of misfortune. Rosa swore. She swore that, at least until they left this island, she would not leave Maria alone. She couldn't allow an unknown being to make direct contact with her daughter any longer. Way better than you making contact. What a reflex.
マリア、戻ってこねえな。
Chad, I'm getting hungry. Gotta be real with you. Go a little longer.
またローザおばさんに叱られてるのかな。
Ever since they'd met Maria at the airport, she'd been romping around, chatting about Halloween the whole time. But maybe she'd cut loose a little too much, acting a little too boisterous on the plane, on the boat, and during lunch, because Rosa had cautioned her several times. Times like that, Aunt Rosa tended not to scold her much in front of people. More often she would take Maria aside and scold her alone. So, since Maria had been called off somewhere, they figured she must be getting scolded. When they looked at the clock, they realized it was almost 6 o'clock. Of course, they couldn't imagine she'd been getting scolded all this time. Wow, the meetings last a while. Not even 2 hours? Fuck you. Maybe it was time for some anime. Maybe it was time for some anime she watched every week to start. Probably hadn't left the mansion's parlor.
ひょっとするとバトラ様がお目覚めになって一緒に遊ばれているのかもしれませんね。
マリアちゃんにとってバトラ君は新しい友達のような感じだったろうからね。そのバトラ君と飛行場でハロウィンごっこをするのがきっととても楽しかったんだよ。
バトラもずいぶんはしゃいでたな。あいつ図体はでかくなったってのに中身は昔から全然変わらねえぜ。
そうですね。バトラ様は6年前のままでいてくださった気がします。
シャノンは6年前のバトラ君のこと覚えてるんだ。
ええ、何しろ大層お元気な方でしたから。
僕も6年前に4人で遊んだことを思い出すよ。シャノンはだいぶお姉さん風だったね。
そうだな。今よりしっかりしてた気がするぜ。
それはあの頃はいろいろと失礼いたしました。
いいよ、そんな礼儀云々は。仕事中はともかく、こうして休み時間に過ごす時の僕らはあの頃から変わらない仲良しで居続けたいね。
そうだぜ。使用人のシャノンとオフの時の作用は使い分けていいだろう。奴隷じゃないんだぜ。使用人の仕事をしてるだけじゃないかよ。私はシャノンとは、サヨとは一番古い友人だと思ってるぜ。
ありがとうございます、お嬢様。
Seemed that Shannon understood the hidden meaning behind Jessica's words. After all, she'd heard a bit about Jessica and Cannon's history from both of them. Apparently, George had heard something of that history too. Walked towards the window and looked up at the darkening, rainy sky.
カノン君はまだ幼いのに考え方が少し背伸びしてるところがあると思うんです。
いや、もうよしてくれよ。まあ私も雰囲気に流されてたところはあったと思うしさ。まあシャノンたちのことを見てちょっと羨ましいとか思って気がせいていたところもあったかもしれねえな。私のことなんかどうでもいいだろ。それよりジョージ兄さんたちの方はどういう感じなんだよ。だいぶいい感じなんだろう。
どうなんでしょ
う。とてもいい感じだよ。
Shannon was lost for words, her face red, while George answered brightly and immediately. That carefree attitude made it easy to see that their relationship was proceeding so perfectly it'd make anyone envious.
やけるぜ。ってことはシャノンもそのうち寿大社ってわけなんだ。
どうなんでしょう。
I wonder.
私には
どうなんだろうね。
There's a good question.
僕にもわからないね。
George laughed teasingly as though pressing Shannon for an answer. Probably the way they usually flirted when they were alone. Jessica could only smile bitterly and say, yes, yes, thank you, that's enough.
僕には夢がある。それは一国一城の主になりたいというビジネス的な野望だけじゃない。生涯を共にできる伴侶と幸せな家族を築きたいという夢もある。子供は最低でも2人欲しいとか、家族で一緒にできるスポーツをしたいねとか、他にもいろいろ。そんな話をよくシャノンとはするよ。こんなことを話すといつもシャノンには気が早いですねと笑われるんだけど、僕はこの年のうちからもうなぜか落ち着いた老後のことを考えてしまうんだよ。元気に成長した子供たちと駆け回る孫たちと、そういうものに囲まれていつまでもシャノンと2人ゆっくりと余生を送れたらなって。
そりゃ確かに気の早い話だぜ。でもなんていうのか、そのジョージ兄さんらしい
You're kind of
話だ
jumping the
な。
gun there, but listen, George is... yeah. He doesn't linger. He's always looking ahead.
そんな家族に囲まれたらさぞ素敵でしょうね。私の思い描いていた理想の家族もそんな感じだったと思います。
Shannon, who'd been raised in an orphanage, that harmonious image of a family was probably something to be yearned for. And George, who'd made an absolute promise to grant that wish for her, may truly have been a fitting person for her to spend her life with. Jessica, Shannon was a precious friend. George was surely the one most fit to entrust that friend's future to.
まあ水を差すわけじゃねえけど、秀吉おじさんはともかくエヴァおばさんとかどうなわけ？説得は大変じゃないの？
そんなことは誰も気にする必要はないよ。
Hideyoshi's a real one, because he'd be like, "That's great, George. George, she's beautiful. That's true love. A man's true love. There's nothing more beautiful than that."
僕が誰を伴侶に選ぶかは誰にもはばかられない。シャノンは僕が幸せにする。それに誰の許可が？
おお、ジョージ兄さんかっこいいぜ。よくそんな恥ずかしいセリフを堂々と。昔の兄さんはそういうキャラじゃなかったと思ったんだけどな。
男子3日合わざれば刮目して待つべしさ。僕だって成長する。
Whatever that means.
シャノンを幸せにするために僕はもっともっと勉強してふさわしい男に成長するつもりだよ。
Maybe even George realized how embarrassing the words coming out of his mouth were. His face turned very slightly red, and he scratched his head.
ジョージさん。
大丈夫。母さんは確かにごねるかもしれないけど、親族全員に君が僕の伴侶だと認めさせてみせる。
すっげえな。シャノンが羨ましいぜ、まったく。そこまで言ってもらえて、恐縮です。
Hey, fucking get a room.
っていうかよ、私は
Yeah, really. Jesus Christ.
って気がしてきたぜ。席を外した方がいいか？
As Jessica rose with a forced smile from the bed she'd been sitting on, the phone rang. Poor Jessica picked up the receiver, wondering what this could be about. Shannon looked at the clock and jumped. Apparently, she'd spent too much time on her break.
すみません。私、お勤めの時間を忘れておりました。これで失礼します。
At the same time Jessica picked up the phone, Shannon began dashing out of the room.
ああ、シャノン、またいつもの時間に、いつもの場所で。
はい。失礼します。もしもし、ジェシカです。ああ、ゲンジさん。
もしもし？
はい。シャノンは今そっちに戻ってますよ。私たちが引き止めちゃったんです。叱らないでやってください。ええ、
はい。
そっか、もうじき夕飯の準備の時間なんだね。
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's letter reading time. Many plates were lined up on the counter in the kitchen. Preparations for dinner were proceeding steadily. The number of plates lined up there was 19. That was one more than should have been set up for the annual family conference. Thank you. If you hadn't specified that, you could always rely on this narrator to say something potent and then inform you and educate you on why it was a potent line. And that blade was stained red. Red. That blade was stained red, which is not the normal color of a knife. Instead, it was the color of a knife that had just been plunged into another person, covered in their blood. By the way, dear reader, I'm imagining Umineko is like you're playing it with your friend, and it's like a number of plates lined up there was 19, and they're like, oh, that's one more than they should have had set up for the conference. It's one more than usual.
納得できません。どうして私が直接お届けに上がってはならないのですか。
That's a good face. That's a goatud face. A goatud face. Well, shut up, bitch. Goda-san flared up at Genji, paying no. Why are we? Whose perspective are we in right now that we're using Goda-san? But Genji is just Genji. Who are we? What perspective are we seeing from right now to warrant this? Goda-san flared up at Genji, paying no heed to the pot that was spitting steam. The master enjoyed eating alone in his study, so his food needed to be served in that room. However, that was something that always happened. Of course, Goda-san would want to set the table for the master with his own hands, since he'd put his heart and soul into his cooking. But the master had imposed a strict rule that none but the servants bearing the golden eagle crest enter his study. While Goda-san would be able to greet the master from outside the study, not once had he been granted the honor of carrying his cooking inside. Goda-san was always irritated by this. Of course, he was a newcomer in terms of years of service. However, he had piled up plenty of experience from his previous jobs, and he was quite confident that he'd be able to perform in front of Kinzo in a manner that would do him no disservice. Goda is unworthy is really funny, yeah. And yet, simply because he was not permitted to wear the golden eagle, he still hadn't been blessed with this honor. Can you imagine what damage that would do to his pride? You might think tonight was a repeat of that, but it wasn't. Because tonight, there was a person other than the master who wanted their food carried to their room. Apparently, this person is an extremely rare and honored guest, and we've been given a strict order to treat them in the same manner as the master and the family head. Goda-san must have wanted to earn some points by serving this honored guest with his own hands. After all, he was an extremely vain person. If he wasn't qualified to serve the master, then at least a guest of the same rank. He simply couldn't find time during lunch, so Kanon-san had gone in his place. So he truly desired to personally serve this person tonight's meal, the best dinner of the year. But Genji-san had put a stop to that. Something about how Goda-san didn't wear the golden eagle. After being told once more that he wasn't qualified, Goda-san lost his patience. And so, heartrending, Goda-san... so heartrending, Goda-san. Oh, I cannot do anything more than watch like this from the shadows. She's so weird, alright? I can't just keep letting it go. She's fucking weird, man. She's such a fucking weird old fuck. Why is she always doing this? She's just like, oh, I feel so bad. I'm hiding in the corner under a table, watching in distraught way. I'm so sad. I can't help anybody. I never inconvenience myself by stepping into any conversation or altercation. I am just occasionally present around corners to share my thoughts with you, dear reader.
熊沢さん、油を売っている暇があったら食堂の準備をしてきてください。
Goda's tired of it too. Tear her up, dude.
テーブルクロスは大丈夫ですか？
And then she laughs at them. She's a fucking menace. She boinged away! When it became her turn to bear his wrath, Kumasawa slid out into the hall.
ベアトリーチェ様は親方様と全く同格のお方です。ルールも親方様のそれと同じものを尊ばなくてはならない。ゴーダは自分の仕事に専念し、親族の皆さんのお相手をするよう。
そのようなお客様相手に源氏さんならともかくこんな子供を生かせていいのですか？もし何かの粗相があったら失礼に当たります。確かに彼らの年季は長いですが、しかるべきところで修行をしたことがあるわけじゃない。正直に申し上げてお客様に接する基礎ができていないのです。
Why don't you cook some food, brother, and shut up? Goda spoke bluntly, even though Shannon was standing right there in the kitchen. Shannon was the one whom Genji had ordered to carry dinner to Beatrice's room. By the ranking system among the servants permitted to wear the Golden Eagle, Shannon certainly was the second highest in rank. Goda is that guy at the office, yeah. The highest ranked, Genji, went to set the table in Kinzo's room. Then it fell to Shannon to set the table in Beatrice's room. Goda's pride was always horribly injured by this ranking system. Times like this, he'd speak out bluntly and rudely against Shannon and Cannon. Dude, it'd be so funny. I think I already made this joke, but it'd be so funny if every time Goda died first. It really would be so funny. Goda kept raising examples of each of Shannon's failures until now, making a ruckus about how she couldn't do this or was terrible at that. Shannon, who listened to this with her head hung in shame, heard Cannon's voice from behind her. Cannon had been leaning against the wall in the hallway near the kitchen entrance, a blind spot from the inside, and had been listening to all of this. Probably knew that if he entered the kitchen, sparks would start to fly his way.
言わせておきなよ。最低の男だ。
でも、接待の基礎の勉強になるし。
Literally none of the guests you will ever entertain will fucking care, dude.
ゴーダさんはたくさん勉強してるから、とても参考に。
姉さんは優しいね。
それより、貴賓室のお客様がベアトリーチェ様だというのは本当なの？
うん。昼食の配膳に行かされた時にあった。間違いなくあいつだったよ。
そう、お元気そうだった？
Shannon remembered that he and Shannon had different impressions of Beatrice. To Shannon, Beatrice was a cupid of love who had granted her magic to establish a relationship with George. Judging by the expression that rose to her face, it looked like she couldn't wait to inform Beatrice of how her relationship with George had progressed. However, Cannon already knew. That witch came here with a terrifying goal in mind. The nebulous witch that only they'd been able to see in the past had now revived so fully that she could walk in openly through the front door. Even have dinner carried to her. Once, when she'd vanished from in front of Cannon, the witch said something about how her own power was still weak. So if that witch was now appearing so openly, did it mean she'd finally regained her former power? And she said something else too. She definitely said that she'd sown the seeds of love, while fully aware that they would fail. And she said even more. She definitely said that the day had finally come on which the door to the Golden Land would be opened. She said a lot. Dapper.
シャノン、あいつは親方様と何かの怪しげな儀式をし、きっと想像もできない恐ろしいことをする。それには誰も抗えない。
何の話なの？
あいつはやってきたんだ。親方様が求めた黄金鏡の扉を開き、全てを黄金鏡に戻すために。あいつは僕に確かにそう言った。
In the past, two of them, as furniture working for Kinzo, had been told what opening of the door to the Golden Land meant. But Shannon understood everything without having to ask a single question. And because of that, she felt a deep despair. Something tore at Cannon's heart as he looked at that expression twisted with grief.
そうだ。どうして今になって。
だから言ったんだ。
Is that a new angry Cannon face? I don't know if I've seen that one.
僕らは家具だって。人間の真似事なんかして恋なんかするから。僕たちの役目の
いつかこの日が訪れることを。でもいつまで経っても訪れなくて。だから私安息の日なんて永遠に訪れないんだって。
僕だってそう思ってたさ。でも必ずいつか訪れるって僕は信じてた。だから僕は家具としての自覚を忘れなかったんだ。なのに姉さんは忘れた。
私が悪いのね。私が。
ああ、姉さんが悪い。姉さんさえ恋を覚えなかったら僕たちはようやく訪れた今日を喜び合うはずだった。
Okay, dude.
姉さんがくだらない未練を作ってしまったんだ。必ず去らなければならない世界なのに。
儀式は今夜始まるの。
あとあいつは僕に言った。今夜ジョージ様は姉さんに婚約指輪を贈るだろうって。
That was a fact. George supposedly had an engagement ring hidden in his pocket today, and surely he would hand it over tonight.
あいつは姉さんとジョージ様を第二の番の生贄に使うつもりで二人の仲をくっつけたんだ。わかる？姉さんはあいつにそそのかされた上利用されたんだよ。
そうだったの。考えたこともなかったわ。
でもあいつは言ったよ。もし今夜その婚約指輪を受け取らなかったなら姉さんを生贄に選ばないと約束した。僕たちが揃って黄金鏡へ行ける確率はとても低いと思う。13人が生贄になる。生き残るのは5人だけ。その中に僕たち2人が入れる確率は本当に低い。でも姉さんだけでもその約束が得られるなら確率はもっと上がる。僕はかけたいんだ。黄金鏡には救いがある。僕たちはそこへたどり着き人間を手に入れるんだ。そして姉さんと2人で人間としての人生を歩みたいんだよ。そうすれば本当の恋だってできるかもしれない。
かつての私たちは黄金鏡へ行けることを夢見てたね。そこへ行けばどんな願いでも叶う。私たちをこの苦しみから救ってくれる。そう信じてた。
However, in this ceremony, only a few people would be invited to the Golden Land, chosen by fate and chance. Everyone else would lose their life as a sacrifice midway through the ceremony. However, in the past, Shannon and Cannon had thought that whether they reached the Golden Land or were sacrificed, they would still be released from their duties as furniture. That meant this ceremony would definitely bring release to furniture like them, no matter what happened.
僕は嫌だ。これまでの辛かった分を姉さんと取り戻したい。生贄なんてごめんだ。僕と姉さんは生き残る。そして2人で黄金鏡へたどり着く。だから姉さんを第二の番の生贄になんかさせない。頼むよ姉さん。あの男の指輪を受け取らないで。それを受け取らなければあいつは姉さんを生贄には選ばないと約束してくれた。
それは できないよ。今夜の指輪はとても特別なもの。それを受け取らないことは私の心が許さない。
姉さん、儀式の生贄は魔女が気まぐれに決めることになってる。その魔女が姉さんだけは見逃すと約束してくれたんだよ。姉さんだけは絶対に黄金鏡へ行けるんだ。
私だけ？カノン君は？
僕は魔女のゲームで十分さ。あいつの魔女なんかかいくぐってやる。
Yeah, that worked great.
僕は無力じゃない。
Well, I guess you kind of gave up last time.
わずかの確率を
You didn't give up. You actually didn't give up at all. You tried to kill her. It just didn't work well. That's basically giving up.
僕たちのせいなんて所詮は仮初めじゃないか。本当の人生を始めるために僕たちは黄金鏡へたどり着こう。そして人間を手に入れよう。そうしたらさ、僕も姉さんみたいに恋が知れるかな。もう家具だからって人を泣かせずに済むかな。
カノン君。
僕はもう家具は嫌だ。絶対に人間になってやる。こんな苦しみから絶対に。
There were tears in Cannon's eyes. By now, Cannon had noticed. Cannon hadn't been the only one to know and suffer from the taste of love. He had too. The tears Jessica had shown him that day. Jessica's pitiful face as she tried to smooth things over and stay bright ever since then. It slowly wrought some kind of change on Cannon's heart without him knowing it. Shannon! Oh, right. Wait, is this her lingering outside? She has to go bring food to Beatrice. Well, it's almost dinner time for them. She's about to bring Beatrice some food. I'm about to bring myself some food. I'm so hungry, and I've been thinking about food the whole time. This whole scene, I've been thinking about what I'm gonna eat. Frankly, I might just make a French bread pizza, but at the same time, I have other options too. There are things I could cook up. Didn't make food while streaming. Doesn't prep food before stream. I worked before stream. I prepped food for work. But I ate roughly 7 hours ago. I'm hungry, bro. The things I'm debating making are like a little bit more effort than I really feel like putting in right now, but I might do it anyway. I might be a crazy motherfucker. Probably not. Anyway, thanks for hanging, everybody, for this little Umineko stream. We slowly make our way through episode 2. I need Battler to have more scenes talking to Beatrice. Battler really hit her with the I'm gonna beat you no matter what. And then one of the first actual actions he takes in this second go around is he takes a fucking nap. What a king. I'll defeat you, Beatrice, after a little well-earned rest. It's pretty funny. Anywho, thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna go eat some sort of food and passively watch this ultimate race where no progress will be made. He knows he can repeat it as long as he wants. True, he's getting the fucking rest in ahead of time. Not that this version of Battler even knows, which is interesting. It's also, I'm trying to like think about how this is all happening though, like with the room where he talks to Beatrice. Like, is it actually happening after? No, because he slept and then saw some stuff. It was like she visited him in his sleep. So is the the void space they're in like a dimension their consciousness goes to or some shit that they can get into? But then when their consciousness is not in that place, then are the versions involved in the situation that we are currently viewing conscious of the ones that are battling? Obviously Battler doesn't really seem to be, because he's been too normal other than being sleepy, but I'm wondering if Beatrice is even aware that she's in a second cycle, or if she has, or if Beatrice just arranged for things to happen differently and now she's watching them play out. I don't think that's really how it works, but at the same time it kind of does, because they keep talking about, I'm moving my pieces, burger. Like she's moving them around, she's forcing changes to happen, but is she like, I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. Anyway, here's Dunban. Goodbye. Keep an eye out for more Umineko.
That's Dunban over there!